Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel and this week's WARNO Dev blog, looking at the second Army Journal campaign for Southag. This time it's called Closing the Trap. So, what is the strategic situation? Well, the situation on the southern reaches of the front is relatively quiet compared to the heavier battles fought in Southag and Northag. Some perfunctory Warsaw Pact attacks easily contained, and while NATO reinstitutes Southag, bringing ever more reinforcements in place, a plan is concocted to take the strike to the Communists, where it is easy to regain their strategic initiative. After beating back the Soviet-Czechoslovakian attack at Nuremberg, the NATO allies begin a campaign to first fix the Czechoslovak First Army in place, the holding attack. And the second phase of the campaign aims to attack across the flank of the Warsaw Pact, briefly breaking through the neutral borders of Austria before taking the fight to Czechoslovakians on their own territory. And this second phase of the strategic counterattack is depicted in the Closing the Trap Army General campaign. So, what is Closing the Trap? Well, it takes place after holding attack, obviously, but before the Hydra operation. The West German 2nd Corps, strengthened by the 1st Canadian Division, successfully engages and fixes as many Czechoslovakian 1st Army units as possible along the Iron Curtain. With the Communist attention in one place, NATO plays the ace up its sleeve. NATO takes a gamble and breaches briefly Austrian neutrality, despite the latter's official and vehemently issued complaints, surging its mobile French and Spanish task forces in a surprise move against the Czechoslovak flank. They brush aside the second-rate Warsaw Pact units that guarded the supposedly calm sector. Sorry, Austria, you're in the way. Having outflanked the Czechoslovak First Army on the defensive roughly following the Iron Curtain, NATO plays to win. They intend to race from south to north parallel to the frontier in order to encircle the whole of the Czechoslovak First Army before they can pull out from West German Canadian stranglehold. To speed things along, NATO drops the French 11E Division parachutists into separate battle groups, which aims to seize key crossroads in the rear and then, as the famous saying goes, hold until relieved by Allied ground forces. NATO's daring mission on a strategic level is to link the two paratrooper pockets with the ground units quickly. If this is successful, the Czechoslovak First Army is effectively surrounded. Of course, the Communists see the danger and rush in substantial reinforcements in a desperate bid to relieve their almost besieged friendly forces. So, the campaign itself. As with holding attack, some of the divisions involved in this Army General campaign can be played in multiplayer while others are featured only in the campaign. On NATO's side, we have a mix of French, Force d'Action Rapide and 2nd French Corps, the Spanish Brunette Armoured Division, and elements of the West German 2nd Corps. As you can see here, it's all a bit, you can see the French dropped in there, and then everything else here. This looks like quite a cool Army General campaign, can I just say, from the map itself. The 6E Division Ligere Blindy, a multiplayer division featured in previous devlog. The Far's tip of the spear, this division will be at the forefront of the offensive. As mentioned in previous devblogs, the French Cold War divisions were notably smaller than other NATO ones, and this will clearly show in this Army General campaign. The French division will field about half the number of battalions compared to an American or West German division, though these formations will be well equipped and powerful on the battlefield. Well, of course, because it's a French-made game. The 4th E Division, on the 4E Division, Aéromobile, among the already small French formations, this division is the smallest of them all with just 4 battalions. This means it amounts to barely a brigade size by NATO standards. The French division fields 3 combat helicopter regiments, Gazelles, and an oversized airmobile infantry regiment. The 2nd French Corps provides the French 3rd Hussards, a powerful AMX-10RC recon regiment. Oh yes, we can use the cheaty AMX-10RCs en masse, I assume. And the 53E Regt d'Artillerie Roland formations, acting in support of this spearhead. Each amounts to a single battalion. There will also be the 5E Division Blindy already in game, also coming from the French Second Corps. This French division follows closely behind, bringing some much needed firepower, but only appearing later as reinforcements. This formation is larger than the 6E Division Ligure Blindy, but still only features about 2/3 of the battalions of a similar NATO division. So, split in two pockets, the 11E Division Parachutists holds objectives from the start. The closest group of paratroopers threatens Pelzen and is sure to attract the enemy's full attention. It contains the Airborne Division's professional regiments, the 2E Rep, the 8E Ripma, the 1ER RHP, etc. And this is very solid in its defensive capabilities. The second group further away holds the reservist units and the HQ, and while in less immediate danger, they will have to hold out longer before being able to be relieved. More reinforcements will become available as the Army General campaign progresses, but you'll have to choose between them. Either the 24 Panzer Brigade from the 1st Gebirgs Division. Gebirgs? I think it's Gebirgs. Like Gepard. Gebirgs. Anyhow, linking the French-Spanish enveloping troops with the Second Corps across the border, or two Spanish brigades from the Division Mecanizada Brunet No. 1, as previewed in the previous dev blog. The former brings a few hard-hitting Leopard 2 tanks backed by Panzer Grenadiers. The latter features lighter battalions equipped with the M113 and AMX-30Es. Okay, what about the other side, so the Warsaw Pact? On the Communist side, we have elements from both the Czechoslovak 1st and 2nd Army, plus some welcome reinforcements from the Soviet Group of Central Forces. At the start of the campaign, the Warsaw Pact troops on the ground are isolated forces from several dispersed formations, trying to establish roadblocks in front of those pesky Frenchmen rushing the battlefield from all directions, the south, the rear, and the sky. Directly facing the French onslaught from the south is a single battered Czechoslovakian regiment from the 2nd Army's 3rd Motostrelka Division, isolated from its parent formation further south. This regiment has been pushed back towards the 1st Army and is the main obstacle between the French and the 1st Paratrooper Pocket. From the west, and thus the 1st Army's direction, several individual, at times reinforced regiments from the divisions that call this army home, the 2nd Motostrelka Division in the south and the 20th Motostrelka Division in the north. They have managed to extricate themselves from the West German and Canadian advance. They are either trying to contain NATO's threat on their back or recapture the crossroads held by the paratroopers. In Pelzen itself, a motley combat group made up of security troops, elite paratroopers, SAM anti-air units and the 19th Motostrelka Division elements hold down the town. These forces have prevented a successful coup de main from the French paratroopers. Spread across various villages on the campaign map, a few security battalions can be used, or some say sacrificed, to slow down the French advance. They could also be deployed to reinforce the individual regiments battling NATO in isolation. Salvation for the Czechoslovakians will less likely come from inside but rather outside friendly units. Powerful reinforcements have been sent to the front by the Warsaw Pact, arriving in force from the east to break the encirclement. Czechoslovakian 9th Tankova Division being the best of the 2nd Army, this division has roughly similar to the 1st Tankova Division, or is roughly similar to the 1st Tankova Division, which we previewed previously. This particular formation arrives from the east, heading straight toward Pelzen. However, it won't arrive immediately, so the few locally available troops need to hold out until this armoured battle groups arrive. Shortly after the above, the Soviet 15th Tank Division will enter the battlefield. This time from further north. This particular division is equipped with T-72A and BMP-1s. It's a race. The Closing the Trap campaign is a race for NATO. The main aim is to rush and encircle the entire Czechoslovakian 1st Army before it can escape or be rescued. The opposite is true for the Warsaw Pact. They need to break out the 1st Army as soon as possible. If you have read closely, you might have realised that this isn't a race in exactly the same direction, but instead at 90-degree angles. NATO's effort goes from south to north, while the Warsaw Pact races from east to west in their effort to reopen communications with the 1st Army. Both sides' offensive movements within the campaign will intersect, usually around the two French paratrooper pockets. Neither NATO or the Warsaw Pact reinforcements are forced to take a straight line, so the big clash might happen anywhere on the campaign map. If holding attack was mostly a West German or Canadian and Czechoslovakian affair, closing the trap gives prominence to the French and Czechoslovakians again, with a beefier supporting role for the Spanish and West German troops and the Soviets for the Communists. So, a little bit of a reminder about Southag, and then we'll have another WARNO Dev blog next week. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you all soon. I'll also let the trailer play in the background now. Have a good one.
Late June 1989. War rages along the Iron Curtain between East and West. In the south, a cautious Czechoslovak People's Army contents itself with sporadic attacks to fix NATO in place. Further north, ferocious combat grips NATO's Northag and Southag. The Communists are poised to break through, and faced with a deteriorating situation, Saker, NATO's European command, takes a risky decision. Instead of reinforcing a heavily contested northern front, NATO will strike at the Warsaw Pact's soft underbelly, intent on regaining the initiative from the Communists. While West German and Canadian troops fix the Communist forces near the Iron Curtain, a mobile French and Spanish battle group briefly crosses through neutral Austria, outflanking the Czechoslovakians, leaving a blocking force to hold back the CSLA's Second Army, the light armor wheels northwest. As NATO airborne units are simultaneously dropped near Pilsen and Karlovy Vary, with the intention to link up and encircle most of the Czechoslovakian First Army. Aware of the imminent threat, the Warsaw Pact races to extricate the Czechoslovakians before the NATO trap closes,